Welcome to Pure Gold, an honest, no-nonsense take on what it means to live daily with sexual integrity, offering practical tips and suggestions on how to strengthen your character, deepen your transparency, and grow in truth through the power of Jesus Christ.
I want to share with you one simple way that you can build trust with your spouse. It's a very simple way, but it's also very powerful. And this certainly applies to our recovery journey especially, but it's also just a really, really great marriage tip. And this thought actually originally comes from a therapist named Jason Martinkus. Jason has a great YouTube channel called Redemptive Living. You should go check it out there on YouTube. But I recently saw this video from Jason, and I just thought it was really great. I wanted to share it for the podcast. So basically, I want to share the audio and the video of this with you and kind of come back and share some of my own thoughts on this. But the short answer on this, one way to build trust with your spouse is this: follow through. Let me say it again, follow through. So I'm going to share the video, share the audio, take a listen to this, and we'll come right back with some comments.
Whenever that's the response, you can see her face just drop. Hi all, Jason Martinkus here with Redemptive Living and another edition of A Day in the Life. And the reason I do these Day in the Life videos is because after spending the day in the office coaching clients through this process of redemption, redemption after betrayal, there are always these themes that come out. There are these, places where you see like these little wins that could happen, these tips and tactics. And so I like to kind of cull those out, apply them to my life, and I hope that you'll apply them to yours to expedite your process as well. So today what I want to talk about is this thing that happens whenever a wife asks if a husband followed through on some small task, okay? The idea here being you got to follow through on small tasks. So let me kind of explain this to you. There's a huge opportunity in this, okay, to build trust. So let me explain this to you. What will happen is, the coach, counselor, pastor, mentor, whoever that is that's helping y'all will say something to the effect of, hey, I want you to watch this video, or I want you to read this part of the book, or I want you to, call your sponsor and talk about this thing. Whatever that is, there's some little thing. Or your wife will ask, hey, would you watch this video? Would you read this blog post? Would you go to that meeting on Thursday night? Would you have the conversation with me about what the homework was that our coach, counselor, pastor assigned? And so the person that's helping y'all, or the wife, will say, hey, here's this small task. It's usually not some gigantic thing. Sometimes it is, right? It's you got to change jobs. Sometimes it's that. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about these little things. And it's imperative that you follow through on those little things. And ideally, you will follow through on that the same day. We sit down in the office and a wife says, I say, hey, did you do the homework that I asked? And he goes, kind of, sort of. Well, you know what? I had a business trip. We had a crazy week and 8 ball games and our kids in extracurricular. And yeah, I was going to, but I didn't quite get to it yet. And whenever that's the response, you can see her face just drop. She asked, hey, did you read that blog post that I asked you to read? Did you watch that little video clip I sent to you? Did you go to the meeting on Thursday night that I was hoping you would go to? And his response is anything other than absolutely. I was on it. I took care of it that day. I made the arrangement that day. I made that phone call that day. Whatever it was, anything other than, I took care of it, Johnny on the spot, you can see trust eroding a little bit in their process. This is a huge opportunity. If there's a request that's made, if there's a task that's assigned by your helper or by her, follow through on it that same day. If she says, hey, would you read that blog post? Make a point that, like, today before you leave the office, you're going to read it before you get home. If she said, hey, did you call so-and-so? Text them and try to arrange making that phone call on your lunch hour today. If there's some task, obviously you can't do everything the same day, right? But if there's something that you can accomplish by moving things around in your day and making this a priority, here's what you and I know. We make time for what's important and we make excuses for what's not. Right? We know that plays out in our life across the board. And if there's a small request that's made of you, a small task that's assigned to you, if you'll treat that thing as important, it will go miles. It will go miles in the trust building process.
All right, so follow through. Follow through is so huge in recovery. It's so huge in our marriages, in our lives, serving our husbands, our wives. If we can't follow through with something that our spouses ask us to do. Whether that be, like Jason mentioned, reading a blog post or going to a meeting, doing something, internally for our recovery, doing something to build our credibility, to build our trust with them. Or if it's just, hey, honey, can you take the trash out tonight before you go to bed? There really is an erosion, if you will, of a little bit more trust and a little bit more trust and a little bit more until, guess what? There's like no trust there whatsoever. And maybe for some of you guys out there who are listening to this or watching this, you're coming from a place where there's no trust to even begin, right? There's no trust even there right now. And so these are the ways in which you need to begin building your credibility with your wife or with your husband again. It's follow through. I feel like follow through, and believe me, I'm sharing from the perspective of being a husband who's still growing in this. And I believe I've grown and followed through quite a bit in my marriage, especially in recovery. In the early parts of recovery, very, very early on, especially in the first few months, first year, man, I just threw everything I had at recovery. I was willing to do whatever it took, and sort of really tried to really carry that through my entire recovery journey and have to this day. But I've also tried to do that in lots of other areas of my marriage. And believe me, I am so far from being perfect. I mean, like miles and miles and football fields, and like just so far from being perfect. But I'm still learning about follow through. Follow through is tough. What follow through really is taking the priority that your husband or your wife has and making it the top thing, right? And there may be some shuffling around of your schedule, right? But you are taking what they are asking and their requests, and you're making it the most important thing, especially if you are coming out of addiction and you're fresh, sort of out of addiction into recovery. Remember, and it's not that your recovery is for that person. Your recovery is for you first and foremost. But you just need to understand that their requests of you need to be paramount. I mean, they need to be on top, because they are also coming from a place of pain, and they are also coming from a place of betrayal. And so remember, follow through. What your husband, what your wife asks of you, whether it be a very, very little thing or, a relatively big thing that might take some serious work and effort. It may take some time. It may take some hours out of your schedule or whatever it might be. It needs to be the most important thing. So I just want to encourage you with that. I want to thank Jason Martinkus again for sharing that thought with everyone. And I thought that was so great. One of the greatest things, one of the most simplest things, one of the most powerful things that you can do to build trust in your life with your spouse.
Thanks for listening to Pure Gold, our weekly podcast from Purity for Life. Don't forget to visit our website for additional content, including our entire podcast archive, articles, links, and videos to help encourage you on your journey for sexual purity. All this and more can be found at pflhome.com.